Alright, so number 1 on your practice quiz, we have a binomial times a binomial. That's when you double distribute. So distribute the x from the first binomial to both terms in the second binomial. X times x is x squared, and x times 3 is 3x. Then you distribute the 9. 9 times x is 9x. 9 times 3 is 27. You'll notice that the two terms in the middle are like terms, so go ahead and add those. And we are done. Same thing on number 2, except in this case we have a monomial times a binomial, so there's only one term to distribute. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 4 is minus 8x. Alright, on number 3, again we're back to the double distributing, so x times x is x squared. X times negative 9 is negative 9x, or minus 9x. Next, distribute the positive 9. 9 times x is plus 9x. 9 times negative 9 is minus 81. These are my favorite kinds of problems because look what happens to the x's. You have negative 9x plus 9x. That's 0x. 0x is not important. So go ahead and write the x squared term and the constant in the back. And last one on the board, another monomial times a binomial. So just distribute the ones. 2x times x is 2x. 2x times 6 is 12. I'll leave those up there for a second. If you have questions, let me know. Alright, so on problem number 5, do you see how we have this little squared? That just means whatever you have in parentheses is being multiplied by itself 2 times. So write that out, and then it's the same double distributing process. So 2y times 2y is 4y squared. 2y times negative 3 is minus 6y. Same thing with the negative 3. Negative 3 times 6y is minus 6y again. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Those terms in the middle are like terms. They're both negative, so add the numbers, keep the negative sign. And there you go. What are your questions on number 5? Alright, number 6, we're still distributing. We have a monomial times a trinomial. So you're going to distribute the one term out front to the 3 terms inside the parentheses. 6 times x squared is 6x squared. 6 times x is plus 6x. And 6 times negative 11, or minus 11, is minus 66. Careful with those signs. We didn't distribute a lot of negative terms, so that was helpful. A lot of people will come up to me, though, and they'll say, is this a negative or is this a minus? It's really the same thing, okay? Just treat it like a negative term, and if it results in a negative term, keep it as a minus. If it turns into a positive term, change it to a plus. What are your questions on 5 and 6? Alright, I'm going to try to break this up a little bit. Here we go. Alright, so next section, we're finding the GCF. This is where those factor sheets are very handy. If you look at 3 on the factor sheet, it does not exist. The reason that 3 is not on the factor sheet is because its only factors are 1 and itself. Excuse me. Number 9 is on the factor sheet because we have 1 and 9, 3 and 3. So what's the largest number that appears in both of the lists? 3. So 3 is our greatest common factor for number 7. Now, I've told you this multiple times. I'll tell you again. I don't need to see these lists on your quizzes because you have these lists on your factor sheet. I'm assuming you're all bringing your factor sheet. I don't know why anyone wouldn't bring a factor sheet to this type of quiz. So if you want to make the list, that's fine. Especially with the variables, I find the list to be very helpful because those won't be on your factor sheet. But if I don't see these, it's not a huge deal. Alright, number 8, we have 6y to the 5th. So if you look at your list for 6, we have 1 and 6, 2 and 3, and then there are 5 y's. 21y squared, we have 1 and 21, 3 and 7, y and y. What's the greatest common factor as far as the numbers? 3. And the y's? 2 of them. Yep. So my GCF is going to be 3y squared. Questions? Alright, the next one is where we sort of put everything together. We are factoring using the GCF. So when it just says find the GCF, you're done once you find it. But when it says factor the GCF, that's when you go through and do the division at the end. So first we have to find it, then we have to factor it. So here I have 1 and 2 with an X. Here I have 1 and 8, 2 and 4. No X's. So what's the GCF? 2. So I am going to factor a 2 out to the front. Remember, factor means to just rewrite as a multiplication problem. So we're rewriting these to look more like the ones in that top section. So to undo all that multiplying, to rewrite it as multiplication, you have to divide. What is 2x divided by 2? 1. X, very good. And what is 8 divided by 2? 4. Close the parentheses and you're good. If you're not sure and you want to double check your work, just go ahead and distribute. You can even do it in your head. What's 2 times x? 2x. What's 2 times 4? 8. So it works out. This should result in the problem if you distribute to check your work. Alright, let's finish up number 10. Y to the third is just y. 5y is 1 and 5, and y. Technically, if you want to write a 1 here, you can. It's not really super important. What is the GCF on this one? 1. 1y. And remember, the 1's not really changing anything. I don't even usually write it. If you want to write 1y, you can. It's not really necessary. We are just removing a y from each of the terms and rewriting it with the y in the front as a multiplication problem. What is y to the third, but you're taking a y away? Y to the... what? Second. Good. Sorry, I just couldn't hear you. And then what's y, or 5y, but you take the y out? Just 5. Again, double, well, not double distribute, just single distribute. See if you end up where you started. In this case, you do. There's a lot on the board. Can you guys tell which answers match with which problems? The only one that's a little far away is 5, is that one. Are you good? Sorry, it's a lot of colors early on a Monday, but see if you can sort through it. How'd I get number 9? Over here I decided what the GCF was by making lists for 2x and 8. The GCF is 2. So I wrote a 2 in the front, and then I divided each term by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then I kept the x. 1x and x are the same. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. Other questions? All right, last couple on the front. We have 8x and 6. That's 1 and 8, 2 and 4. You also have an x. 1 and 6, 2 and 3. You do not have any x's. 2. So I can factor a 2 out to the front. In parentheses, I will have whatever I have left when I divide those two terms by 2. What is 8 divided by 2? 4. You didn't touch the x, so leave it there. 6 divided by 2? 3. Very good. Questions? All right, next we'll look at number 12. You do 2 terms the same way you did, or sorry, you do 3 terms the same way you did 2 terms. Make a list for each. We have 1 and 9, 3 and 3, y, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, y, 1 and 21, 3 and 7, and a y. What are you guys thinking? 3, 3, 3, y. 3y works. So I'm going to write 3y in the front. Then I'm going to divide every term by 3y. 9 divided by 3 is 3. You had y to the third, but you're taking one of those y's out to the front. So that's a y squared. Minus 18 divided by 3, 6. You had y squared, but you're taking one of the y's to the front. So just y to the first. Good. 21 divided by 3, 7. You had a y, you're taking it to the front. So no y's. There you go. Distribute it back out to check, and you should be good. Give you a minute with those. We are going to scroll down and do all the back on one page. You guys ready for the back? We good to go? Alright. So on that first one, we have 4a to the 8th, 22a to the 4th, 12a squared. That is 1 and 4, 2 and 2, and then a bunch of a's. We have 1 and 22, 2 and 11, and 4 a's. We have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and 2 a's. What is my GCF?
2a.
2
a
squared.
squared.
A squared, very good. You can see they all have 2 a's. Some of them have more, but they all have 2. So I'm going to divide everything by 2a squared. I'm going to write 2a squared in the front of my answer. What's 4 divided by 2? 2. You had a to the 8th, but you're taking 2 of those away? A to the 6th, very good. Plus 22 divided by 2? 11. You had a to the 4th, you're taking 2 of those away? A squared, good. Plus 12 divided by 2? You had a squared, you're taking a squared away? Just 6, very good. What are your questions? Alright, next one we have 5x to the 8th, 15x to the 3rd, and 20x. So that's going to be 1 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1 and 15. 3 and 5. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 20. 2 and 10. 4 and 5 with an X. GCF? What is it? 5. X. Very good. So I'm going to divide each term by 5x. So in the front of my answer, I'm going to write a 5x. What's 5 divided by 5? 1. And then I have x to the 8th, but I'm taking one of those away. X to the 7th. Very good. If you want to write the 1, you can. If you just want to write x to the 7th, you can too. It's the same thing. Keep it a minus. We're not touching the signs at all here. What's 15 divided by 5?
3.
3. You had x to the 3rd, but you're taking one of them to the front. X squared. Good. And in the back, we have a minus. What's 20 divided by 5? 4. You had an x. You're taking an x out. That's it. Alright, and last one on here. We have 12x squared y. 18xy squared. And 36y to the 3rd. Alright, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, x, x, y. 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, x, y, y. 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. Are these right? Double check me. I mean, it's Monday after daylight savings time for me too, so there's definitely a high probability of mistakes going on right now.
You got the 36 above.
Boom. That's the hardest one. Okay. What's the GCF? What are we thinking? I think there's a bigger one than 2. I think 6, right? Do they all have a 6 is the biggest number I've heard you say. Do they all have it? Yes. What about the Y's and the X's?
They both have Y's.
They both have a Y. Everything has a Y. The last one, the 36 term, doesn't have any X's. So X's aren't really going to happen here. But we do have 6y in each. Can we all agree that 6y is a GCF?
Yep.
Man, that was a lot of work, wasn't it? We're not even done. 6y goes in the front of my answer. 12 divided by 6 is 2. You had you had x squared with an extra y. So the y is going to be gone. We're just going to have the x squared part. Plus 18 divided by 6 is 3. We haven't touched the x. We had y squared, but we're taking one of those out. Yeah, so just a y, so 3xy. Minus 36 divided by 6 is 6. Y to the 3rd, but you're taking a y out, so you'll just have y squared. Very good. You guys are getting good at this, I think.
Bravo.
All right. That is the practice quiz. So be careful. Tomorrow there are 10 extra questions. A few more from each section. If you're wanting to know the exact breakdown, look at your review that we did on Friday. That has the same exact number of problems from each type that the quiz for tomorrow will have. There'll be 2 points apiece for 50 points total. So make sure you study. This review will be on YouTube. I'm going to upload this video right now, so if you want to check back later and fix any mistakes if you missed them, you can do that. Check out your review from last week too when you're studying. Check out old notes, old homeworks. Come see me if you need help later. Any other way to study that I haven't covered? No? I think we're good.
The practice quiz?
No, take the practice quiz with you so you can use it to study.
Okay.